Hello and welcome. This is Cujo Sound, WhiteNoiseTrash and the Unity series. I'm Bjorn Jacobsen and this is part 4. We're just going to talk briefly about public variables and how we can alter these and how we can use them to ask questions for us and make sure that things trigger. Now, in the previous 3 episodes, we had samples trigger and so on, and we controlled a little bit of volume, but we have also this here play on awake thing, which turns things on once we start the game. I would most likely never use that because I would like to control which sounds play whenever I start the game manually. So let's switch this off. And then over here on our cube, on our collider, we are going into the script here. We're going to make a small true and false Boolean value, which will then determine should our sound play. So let's see here. Inside our script here, we still have our volumes and our pitch that changes whenever we go into the collider. So what we're going to do here is we're going to make a public Boolean. We'll call it play from start, and it should be false. In that way, we will now get once it has updated, a variable over here, which we can turn on and off, which is just right now it's just a value. We can't do anything about it. So let's say here in our start phase, we can write if, and that's a simple question, if something, if play from start. And this asks the question, is play from start true? You could also say if play from start equals true, then it'll ask that specific question if it's true. But in C#, you don't have to write this equals. You can just write. So if this statement is true, here on the next line, it will do whatever is within these curly brackets here. So if play from start is true, we want our collider sound dot play. We want our sound simply to play. So now we can tell it here. So if we press play now, nothing should happen. But if we click here and turn it on again, it plays. This is quite a basic if statement, and as we talked about earlier, then once something is public, you can see it over here in the inspector. And you can then turn it on and off, and you can alter the values over here. So let's make a public variable that we can then change. We could, for example, say here public bool change volume on enter equals false. Public bool change volume on exit equals false. So now we have all these that are false. So let's / these two out here. So now once you enter the collider, only the volume will become the collider volume value that we've set up here. And once you exit, it will become 1. Now, if we ask the same question here, let's just fade this out and say if change volume on enter, if change volume on enter is true, we want our collider sound dot volume to be equal our collider volume. And the same thing goes down here. That if change volume on exit, curly brackets, collider sound dot volume equals, what was it, 1? Yeah. So now we have these Boolean values here, which are false from the very start, meaning that once we start the game, nothing will happen. When we enter the collider, nothing will happen, because on trigger enter asks the question, is it true or is it false? And in this case, it is false, so it will just skip this line of code. But if we set this to true, it will play. So let's try it out. So nothing happens. It does play, simply because it is set to play from start. When I enter the collider, nothing happens. But if we toggle this, then as you remember in our code, then this is true, making this question here legit. Or it's still a legit question, but that means it becomes true, and it'll alter this sound, the parameter of collider sound, which is our audio source. It'll change it to the collider volume value that we have also set in our inspector window. So once now it will play, and once we go into the collider, it'll set the volume to 0.5. And nothing will happen when we leave. So the same thing goes. If we turn this one off, it should go back to 1. So let's play. We'll see the volume change. And that's how you do very simple public parameters and variables that you can then alter from your inspector view. You can also change them from other code, from other game objects. And this is how you do very basic if statements.